Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. I can't believe 2024 is nearly coming to an end. And I hope 2024 has treated all of you incredibly well, or at least has been kind to you. In terms of our industry, it has been a fantastic year. We're seeing incredible growth on all sides of our industry. And what fascinates me more and what makes me incredibly happy is that wellness is finally on the map. There is no doubt that wellness is incredibly important, and everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon, which is a positive time for the wellness industry. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what 2025 holds for us. And I think we've got at least another decade of very positive growth for our industry, which is fantastic news for all of us. And on that note, while the industry is growing, what I am noticing is both from the wellness leaders who I take through my Wellness Asset Academy and my hotel owners of boutique hotels when it comes to the asset builder mentorship is that most of them think, there's this underlying theme that I see that why does wellness feel so hard to get right? It feels so hard to get wellness right. And today I'd like to talk about why that is the case. Why is it that we feel that wellness is it's hard to get right? And I also want to put forward a simple solution as to how we can fix that. It's not that far fetched. And while I was preparing for today's session, I just, took myself back a few years and I remembered this project I had, a boutique hotel property, very wellness oriented owner, wellness oriented GM, fantastic wellness director. We pulled together a fantastic team, and a lot of money was injected into this wellness operation. And there were high expectations in terms of revenue and profitability. And the typical thing always happens is that sometimes the financial projections we actually create in the blueprint phase do not quite match when we have open doors and we're living the first or second or even third year of operation. And this spa was already like 18 months open. And they were having a general board meeting that they have the entire executive committee. So we had the director of rooms, food and beverage, the hotel manager, the GM, the owner, and also in this property, thank God, the wellness director is also part of the executive committee. And when the turn came to wellness to speak, we had the owners, the GM, and the director of finance talking about how wellness was not really reporting the profitability that they had hoped, despite guests being incredibly happy with the treatments, there being quite solid revenue, happy guests, happy therapists, an amazing wellness director. And despite all the positives, what did come to the table was that wellness was not making the profitability that they had hoped. And in fact, there were some months where it was on a negative at that point, still 18 months into the opening of the facility. And then at the other side, we had the wellness director actually asking for more money and more budget because she needed that in order to maintain the high standards that they were having in their actual spa. They were delivering treatments and wellness services to a very high standard, and she needed even more funding to actually take it a notch up. They're already doing incredibly well, but everyone wanted to do it slightly better. So it was interesting, as I sat there to watch this, that they're actually speaking past one another. So you had the director of finance and the owners and the GM speaking about actually cutting costs, whereas you had the wellness director asking for more budget. And the reason why they were both asking for the same thing at the end ultimately was they wanted wellness to be a thriving business, They wanted their teams to be incredibly happy and they wanted guests to have remarkable experiences. They all wanted the same thing. The destination, the ultimate goal was the same. The only thing was that the perspectives on how to get to that destination were different. And this is something I see happen time and again. When there is a lack of alignment between the expectations of, let's say, hotel management and the wellness leaders, that is when I see wellness feels so incredibly hard to get right. And today I would like to talk about why, really go into it. Why does it that the wellness always feel that it's in this survival mode and how you can fix that? Second, I'd like to talk about this hidden disconnect between hotel management and wellness leaders and how that impacts businesses and our perception of the wellness business. And lastly, how can we get everyone on the same page so that wellness doesn't feel hard to get right? It almost feels natural to do it right. So, going into the first point of why wellness always feels in the survival mode. So let's go into any of our day-to-day operations. On the one side, you will see therapists running from treatment to treatment, barely able to catch their breath, sometimes the treatment turnaround time being reduced. Then you find the rooms division, you find a guest services agent promises a treatment to a guest because that VIP guest is going to leave tomorrow, which means a therapist has to stay longer or something is changed within the agenda. And the whole feeling is that you're constantly trying to put out fires. You are all trying so hard to make the guest feel so good that we end up making so many obstacles to that guest experience, to that smooth guest experience. And on top of that, when our guests don't have that smooth experience, that affects our bottom line and our top line because ultimately they won't leave that good Google review or they wouldn't come back. So this is why wellness constantly feels in the survival mode because we end up bending over backwards for every single request instead of looking at, okay, what exactly are we trying to achieve here with wellness? And when we find ourselves in this situation, what I strongly recommend is that we step back and as a team sit down and ask, what do we want wellness to achieve? And how does that look in our day-to-day operations? So that way we don't have any unrealistic expectations that are competing with one another when it comes to wellness. And that is ultimately what makes wellness seem so difficult to get right. And then the second point is the hidden disconnect between wellness leaders and hotel owners. On the one side, you see wellness leaders who are passionate about delivering amazing guest experiences, but that they often feel like they're doing it alone, or the wellness leader does not have a voice. And on the other side, you have hotel owners and GMs who are focused on the bottom line. They want to see results. They want the clear data, the return on investment, and the proof that wellness is worth the investment. And here's the disconnect. Wellness leaders are so busy delivering treatments, they don't have the time to show their value in numbers. And the hotel management is making decisions without understanding what wellness truly brings to the table. And the end result, again, is frustration on both sides. And you also have a wellness offering that never quite reaches its full potential. And how do you fix that? You fix that through communication. I was going to say open communication, being very, very clear and transparent about what's working, what isn't working, and what we can do differently, and alignment. And a very simple exercise is to start by asking your questions again. What does wellness mean to our hotel? How do we measure success for wellness? And what resources are needed to achieve these goals? And what these conversations do is that they don't just solve the problems, they actually build trust between hotel management and the wellness team, which is critical for the success of any business. And finally, the first step to getting everyone on the same page. And this is where the real change starts. So, here is a quick exercise you can do with your team. And you can actually do that this week. Bring together your wellness director, your GM, your owners, all the key people on the hotel's big table that are involved in wellness, and just ask for 15-minute alignment exercise. And the three questions you ask yourself are: one, what's the main purpose of wellness in our hotel? Are we talking about memorable guest experiences? Is it about steady revenue, or is it just market differentiation? Is that what differentiates us in the market? Second, what's your top selling wellness offering and why? For example, if you have a strong spa offering, maybe it is your signature deep tissue massage. And why is it the top offering? Why is it the top selling offering? Could be that guests always ask for more time and more pressure, and the signature deep tissue massage is the easiest to sell. And once you've established what is the main purpose of wellness in your hotel, what's your top selling wellness offering, and why is that the case, then you can ask yourself, what is one small change you can make to boost revenue without extra budget? So let's say you do not have extra budget to get in more therapists. And we know that the deep tissue massage is what sells more. A quick win could be just increase the prices of your high selling offering or your deep tissue massage. And just by making that small shift, you're increasing your revenue. If you're not proportionally increasing your cost because you're not getting in more manning, for example, then you're also increasing your profitability. And once you're clear about what wellness actually means, you don't ask more of wellness than it can actually deliver. So, if wellness was always intended to be an amenity to the rest of the hotel offering, you will automatically not put the weight on the wellness profit and loss to actually be that department that is churning money. You're probably looking at wellness as the service department that serves the rest of the area. And that profit and loss and your expectations that go along with it are very different from, let's say, a boutique hotel where wellness is part of the brand's DNA, where service has to be top notch, where you have to take out the best services, get the best teams on board. That is where you actually do need to invest money. And maybe the conversation does not center purely around the top and bottom lines, but more around what that does to the rest of the hotel's ecosystem. And once you're clear about what actually is working, because that is feedback from your guests. And I add that key question, why? Because sometimes we are just comfortable selling what we know. And if that is the case in your hotel, really understanding, is my team selling what they're comfortable selling? Or are they selling what our guests really want to buy? And then lastly, try to get a quick win. Sometimes it's not always about, well, not sometimes, it's not always about throwing money at a problem. It's about finding other ways to solve it. Sometimes just increasing the price, yes, decreases the volume, but at least helps you maintain your profitability, your top line, and in some cases that could also result in higher profitability. So I wanted to record this session so that you have an idea of why it is that wellness feels so difficult to get right. And it's not because wellness is difficult. It is actually because there is a misalignment between what hotel management sometimes expects wellness to be able to do and also what wellness leaders expect from hotel management and also what they can realistically deliver. And then it's a question of understanding, what does wellness mean? What is it that guests are buying? And how you can double down on what they're buying. So I hope you found that useful. And I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.